Hey, the video you're about to watch is actually one in a 6-part series that I've created on breathing. It's called Deeper, Slower, Easier, as in breathe deeper, breathe slower, breathe easier. Now, this is just level 1, so it's going to center on the mechanics of breathing, specifically how you can most efficiently use your body to take the deepest possible breath. Now, as you'll soon learn, this skill is going to create a dramatic shift in your human experience. The simple changes I suggest in this video are going to enliven you, improve your sitting posture, and boost your confidence. Level 1 is, of course, just the foundation for the rest of the workshop series, so if you are interested in levels 2 through 6, I definitely recommend subscribing to my email list, Patreon, or public calendar, all 3 of which are linked in the description below. There, you can gain access to my live classes and the recordings of those classes. Now, again, this seminar is really just a teaser for the rest of the material I cover. In subsequent lessons, we get into the art of channeling prana, or chi, the subtle, intelligent energy pervading your body. We also get into the science of your nervous system and using your breath to hack your flexibility. We explore the depths of the mind-body phenomena, overcoming fear, spirituality, yogic philosophy, meditation, consciousness, manifestation, and so much more. So reach out with any questions, like and subscribe, and make sure to give this lecture your utmost focus and attention, as understanding the concepts will surely change your everything. Thanks for being here. Enjoy. Holler if you can see it. Just give me a thumbs. Okay.
Yep.
Sweet. It's funny how you have to check every single time, right? You sure it works this time? All right, my friends. We are getting going. Okay, so this entire workshop is called Deeper, Slower, Easier, as in breathe deeper, breathe slower, breathe easier. And it's split into 6 different levels. And let me talk for a moment about how I got into this work, like how it really found me. It started, I would say, from the age of 11. You can see in the left picture here, this is me as a young chap with a freshly broken collarbone. So I was playing at a beach, got toppled by a wave. I was in the water with like an inflatable kayak with some friends, just hollering around, being a monkey, and got slammed into the ocean floor and just pop. And since then, so you can tell here, this young chap had not hit puberty yet. And so what had happened, my entire body grew crooked. So growth hormones flooded in, and I kind of grew down into the right. And I'll talk about this over and over again. The body, in response to trauma, be it physical or emotional or mental or spiritual, psychic, whatever it is, it heals, and it heals in a tense way. So for me, it was the entire right side of my body was kind of closed off. And so my chin was tucked down into the left, and I was kind of staring down for the majority of my life, I'd say over 10 years or so. And so you can kind of see in the pictures here on the right, just a obvious spine that's torqued, right? I was just curled in, and it caused a lot of difficulties. You can see here, most of these pictures I was wearing contacts, but this one in particular, I was wearing glasses. So it affected my eyesight, spatial abilities, confidence, as we'll talk about here. One of the, in terms of level 1, we're talking about being upright and just taking up more space. And so being curled down, that's a fear response, right? So you can kind of see that this affected my entire personality. That detailed in response to just what on the surface appeared to be just a pretty simple collarbone break. Now, through a random spiritual awakening, I came to yoga, was introduced through an ex-girlfriend of mine. I would go to the yoga studio a few times a week with her and just stretched and felt better and better. But it wasn't until roughly 2-3 years ago, after my yoga teacher training, that I put all the puzzle pieces together, and I really started healing from my injury and becoming more upright. I don't need glasses anymore. The confidence thing has come back. It's even improved my digestion. And all of this is interwoven into the fascinating story of breath and how breath works with your system to either improve it or deprove it. Basically, the point is we focus so much in Western society on diet, on sleep, on exercise, which are three huge pillars of health, right? And yet we breathe far more than we eat. We breathe far more than we sleep. We breathe at all times. And so what I'm arguing here, and hopefully you'll be able to kind of start to see the inklings of in this first little instance, in this first level, is that breathing can take you very far in terms of your health, in terms of how you feel, in terms of your energy levels, beyond just the eyesight. I no longer need to consume caffeine. I don't need alcohol, marijuana. I've gone completely sober, and all of this because of breath, as you will see. Now we'll go inch by inch here, trying not to confuse you at any point or trip any woo-woo wires in your brain. This first part, or the first two levels, what many of you signed up for is what I call breathe deeper. So we are learning the mechanics of breathing so that we can build upon it in future lessons about the nervous system and then about the psychosomatic experience in general. Now, this is level one. We're talking about upright and confident. The thesis of this entire level and this entire workshop today primarily being, okay, how do I actually use my body correctly so that I breathe deeper? And the answer happens to be in your posture and in your hips, hence upright. All right, now that most of us are here together, and this is especially important if you're watching this recorded, because all of us have these jumpy ass minds these days. We can't seem to stay centered or focused. And so what I need you to do is actually be with me. I want you to chuck your phone across the room unless you're looking at it on your phone, right? Do not disturb. Don't look at it. Don't even let it ping. Don't let it light up, because that will cause your attention to go over here, even for a millisecond. But if it's a even half important text, it's going to take your entire attention away. And the second that happens, it's going to take at least a couple minutes for you to come back, unless you have some sort of meditation experience. For the most part, most of us can't even afford that simple distraction. So no phone, por favor. Second, focus. And focus means active listening. That means you don't have to actually focus in an active way. Right. So you have this supercomputer of a brain that is processing all of the information I'm currently speaking. It is picking up the voice intonations, it's separating out the words, it's parsing them, and it's decoding them effortlessly. Do you see that right now? If you can really just open up your ears and take it all in and don't try to meta analyze any of this stuff, it just syncs, it just downloads into your brain instantaneously. So keep that open awareness as much as possible. You are going to notice over and over and over again that you will get dragged away. I'm going to say something that piques your interest or you think corresponds to something in your daily life, and your mind's going to be like, ooh, let's explore that topic for a second. And that's amazing, because that's why I'm here, right? I want this to be applicable for your daily life. And yet you miss 10, 20 seconds and all of a sudden you're missing something else in the presentation. So just let your supercomputer of a brain take care of it. You can download all of this information. You can be there at once. Focus. Third, participate. That means breathing with me. That means active listening. That means sitting upright the whole time. Ask questions. I'm going to give plenty of time at the end. I say plenty of time. We'll see how many questions there are. But if you'd like, in the middle of the presentation, I imagine there'll be a way to either unmute yourself. It'll be obvious when I'm kind of pausing, or just raise your hand or wait until the end, any of those. Then last but not least, I need you to embody the material. We are going to take plenty of practice deep breaths, slowly starting to integrate this work into our bodies. Capiche? Capiche. Okay. Now, first, before we actually get into the information aspect, I need us all to ground down and actually set an intention for ourselves, because intention yields results. If you go in with just a blind, like, I don't know why I'm here, you're not going to get half as much than were you to actually go in with like I am here to learn X, Y, or Z, or I want to learn. God, if you want to learn, that will transform your ability to absorb this information. Okay, so everyone close their eyes, sit upright, back away from the chair. I need you to shrug out your shoulders, get a little loose. Notice all the tension that exists in you. Notice your breath rate and pattern as it exists right now. You'll make a mental note because it will shift dramatically by the end of the presentation. And take 2 deep breaths, whatever that means to you, as deep as you possibly can. Another, and you can actually feel the tension leaving your body, right? You can feel this centering, this grounding effect automatically. Now, if you're comfortable, you can repeat after me, either in your head if you feel a little bit shy, or out loud if you want the full shebang. But repeat after me. I am word through my intention. I am word through my intention to give this presentation my utmost focus. To give this presentation my utmost focus. I am word through my intention. I'm word through my intention to expand and to grow my knowledge. To expand and to grow my knowledge. And to breathe deeply and to integrate this into my body. To breathe deeply and to integrate this into my body. I am word through these intentions. I'm word through these intentions. Word, I am word. Word, I am word. Okay, you can open your eyes now. What you just did wasn't some sort of cult ritual. It's, in essence, what you're doing is you are stating on my word, you know, like many of us are male in actual live presentation. So it's like my word, on my honor here, I will pay attention. And giving that sort of like actual juice to your focus. You don't want to be the type of person that's hypocritical and says, I said on my word, I said I was going to focus. I said I was going to get this into my body. And now here I am paying attention to something else. So you get the point. It just actually really does help the mind. Now we can get into it. Brilliant. Okay, friends, why do you breathe, right? This is a very rhetorical question. It is obvious. It's to not die or to stay alive, right? So the better question here really is, why or how does breath facilitate not dying? What is it about you doing this every single moment of your entire life that keeps you going from second to second? I mean, think about it. The first thing you do after you emerge from the womb, right? Big breath in. And all things, if they go your way in the end, it will be a big sigh of relief when you leave this earth. And so you have a lot of breaths in between, not an infinite amount, a finite amount. And so this matters, and it keeps you alive from moment to moment. It is what frames every single part of your day, every single moment of your experience here. To understand why or how this works, how does breath facilitate not dying, you have to view yourself not as one thing, right? You are made up of trillions of intelligent cells, each one far more intricate and advanced than even the most detailed silicon chip these days. Each one has their own intelligence, and each one is its own living being in a way that requires certain ingredients to thrive and function. So you have sperm cells, fat cells, nerve cells, immune cells. All of these things require different proteins, minerals to survive. However, the common denominator, right, is oxygen. Your body is made up of trillions of these cells. Each of them require oxygen to survive, grow, heal, multiply, and thrive. So without oxygen, which is out in the atmosphere, you cannot exist, right? Easy peasy. Now, breathing then is how you get this precious resource of oxygen from the outside to the inside. Your circulatory system is what takes it through the body and delivers it to all your trillions of cells on time every single time. Okay, deep breath in, close your eyes, go into your forehead, center your mind, and try to breathe in appreciation of the marvelous fact that you are alive. I mean, this didn't have to happen. Good, release. You can see here that every single deep breath you take in between, it actually resets your mind and allows you to absorb more and new information. So we're going to keep it going. Now you understand why you breathe. It's just that basic understanding. You learn that in simple biology class, right? But how do you breathe? And in order to understand that, we need, again, to reframe our perspective. So everyone for me, bring your attention to your nose. So imagine just going down a couple inches, bring your full focus to your nose. It might help to close your eyes. And then just take a deep breath and notice if you feel this sucking effect. You kind of feel it funneling through. Good, release. That is the common conception that we can do away with. You are not a vacuum cleaner. That is not how it worked. That's never how it worked. In fact, vacuum cleaners aren't just this sucking apparatus. It has to do with the laws of physics. So rather than you viewing yourself as some vacuum cleaner that's the lungs are doing the work, I need you to start focusing on the volume you take up in the room, and then the universe does the rest. So if you're an engineer like myself, you'll recognize the ideal gas law equation. Maybe it's been a while, but PV equals nRT. And when you increase your volume, decrease the pressure, and the laws of physics must equalize. Layman's terms, basically, when you increase the size of your torso, the pressure goes down, all things right being equal on the right side of the equation. And all of a sudden, your internal pressure is different than the atmosphere. And so the universe has to breathe you in. It has to suck air in order to equalize those pressures. And the point is, I'm going to hammer this home over and over and over again in this presentation, is breathing deeply is about how much volume you can take up and not the lungs. This is not a story about your lungs. This is about everything that exists outside of your lungs, right? Your entire torso volume, which is connected to your lungs, that is what is getting bigger. That is what is getting bigger. And I'll show a bunch of different examples here. Breathing is about shape change of your torso. So everyone for me, bring your right hand up and stretch it over to the side. Close your eyes, and I want you to notice that you can breathe more using your right lung than your left lung now. Notice how it's this opening. Can you feel that? One side is easier to breathe into than the other. Now everyone curl down on themselves, so get into a tiny little ball, and then try to breathe into your front side. Do you notice how it's a little bit difficult versus if you were to maybe interlace your hands behind you, puff up your chest, and now breathe into your front side. Okay, do you guys see that? It is not about your lungs. It is about what your torso is doing in space. So how do you shape change your torso? That becomes the crucial question, because if you can learn how to do that, you can learn how to manipulate your torso on a moment's notice, then you've got control over your breath. Got it? You can control the torso, control the breath. So we will understand this in 3 different sets of muscles here. The first one being your diaphragm. Okay, diaphragm is the little funky muscle. You can see here in some of these images, it separates the upper half of your body from the lower half of your body. Got the heart, the lungs from stomach, kidneys, liver, etc. Now, this thing is pretty interesting in that it contracts downwards. So everyone, if you could for me, I want you to place your arm up, and I want you to just flex your bicep and your bicep alone. And you can see how it creates this hinge effect, right? This is the muscle's most basic feature, and this will become more important as we go on. But it's to move a set of bones. It is not, the point of the bicep is not to flex the bicep, unless, of course, you are a bodybuilder or something. It is to move something that's in the hand. Let's say a hammer, like a hammer curl, right? You've got a hammer in your hand. You have to move it from up to down. So that's the mechanical purpose. The same is true of all muscles in your body, and that includes this funky one called your diaphragm. The diaphragm, though, contracts downwards towards your belly, which is very difficult to visualize, because when we think of muscles contracting, we could see kind of the arm is moving up, or you contract your quad and the leg moves up. So the fact that something can contract, i.e. get shorter and move downwards, is a little bit difficult to visualize. However, it's important to understand. And you can see here, I'll show this a couple times. This is counterintuitive. So that's relaxing. That's inhale and contract, exhale, relax. Can you see that? Inhale, contract, exhale, relax. So I'm going to go back one, and I want you to breathe with this video. Okay, so that's exhale, inhale, exhale. Can you see how that's a little bit difficult? Inhale, exhale. Keep it going. Okay, the reason why it's important to know that it contracts downwards in the actual function and action of this muscle is that in order for you to properly use it, you have to get your organs out of the way, right? Everything that's in your belly right now is relatively static in volume. Static meaning it is not changing volume unless you drink a big glass of water or eat a big meal. Everything in here is staying the same. Now, your lungs, right, are empty vesicles. They can hold air, they can change volume, they can change their actual shape. Meaning, if you want to breathe using your diaphragm and the diaphragm is moving downwards, the organs have to get the hell out of the way in order for you to actually use them. And to do that, in order for you to actually move your organs out of the way, requires that you relax your abs and relax your pelvic floor. Try this out. Flex your abs for me, like you're trying to get a six-pack on the beach, like flex, 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 and then try to breathe into your belly. So that's code name for then try to use your diaphragm. It's locked up, right? It physically does not work. The two are exclusive from one another. You cannot be tense and you cannot breathe at the same time. This is a lesson I'll come back to again over and over because it's so, so crucial and we can reverse engineer it, right? If you want to breathe into your belly, you have to relax. If you want to breathe into your chest, you have to relax your chest. If you want to breathe into your extremities, which we'll talk about how to do that, you have to learn how to relax your extremities. And this is huge because you can actually take that information and apply it right now. So many of us have these tight jaws, tight neck, scrunched up everything up here. And if you can just learn how to channel the breath, to aim it into certain areas of your body, voila, you will have undone the tension because the two cannot coexist. So I'll make this a little bit more concrete and give you a very nice visual here. This is of a plunger, okay? Except a reverse plunger. A typical plunger, you have the handle and the thing kind of sticks up. You know, you guys all know what a plunger looks like. But what the diaphragm is a reverse plunger. So you're taking this head and you're flipping it inside out. So it's this dome umbrella shape, as you can kind of see here. Now, when you pull on that wooden handle, the actual dome flips in and flattens on itself. Does that make sense? It pulls, it flattens the whole thing. And because the diaphragm is glued to your lungs, it drags the lungs with them, right? It drags the very bottom of your lungs, which is why we learn this first, because if you can drag from the bottom of the lungs, if you can learn how to breathe with your diaphragm first in that order, you drag in the most amount of air, right? Because you have to breathe from top to bottom. So if you start from the bottom rather than just breathing with your chest, all of a sudden you will draw in so much more air. It will be so much more powerful if you can strengthen that diaphragmatic muscle. All this is making intuitive sense, I assume so far. Okay. Crucial point here, this little end of the plunger handle here is around our rectum area or our anal muscles, our pelvic floor. And that is where you actually want to get good at initiating the breath from, because remember, this is about moving abdominal organs out of the way. So of course, relaxing the abs is important, but remember, all those organs, they go way down. You've got a lot of organs in there. And so if for them to kind of move side to side or down, you need to relax your pelvic floor. And so it can help to imagine initiating the breath from your sphincter muscles. And I call this, and this is our first exercise, plunger breathing. Plunger breathing, some other synonyms for it would be diaphragmatic breathing or belly breathing. Same thing. It's an incredible tool. If you can learn how to breathe with your diaphragm, you will have solved many, many, many of your breathing issues and hence many of your energy issues and tension issues. Okay, so step one, initiate breath from the sphincter. Step two, relax your abdomen. There are a few different layers of abdomens, and then move your belly organs forward. Okay, so we have this common notion in Western society, drag the stomach way in as much as you can. What I'm going to ask you to do is try to get it pregnant. You can kind of see here how wide I can get it. You can't see it obviously because the pelvic floor muscles are on the inside, but I'm almost pushing down, like almost like I'm trying to use the bathroom a little bit. So if everyone could, you're welcome to open your eyes or keep your eyes open. But if you would like, you can close your eyes, bring all of your attention down to your belly. So you did have your attention in your nostrils, but you're going to bring it down a few feet so that only your belly exists in your awareness. And I want you to start the breath from relaxing your pelvic floor, almost like you're pooping. I mean, this is called like a reverse Kegel. So rather than sucking up, you're pushing down. You relax your abdomen and you see how wide you can get your belly. Now, maybe a little bit uncomfortable at first because it's ballooning. The organs are kind of pushing into one another. They're squishing in. So you might feel that as a sensation. But you want to get good at this relaxation. You want to get good at this big old belly. Good. Try one more like that. And imagine the diaphragm flattening and dragging the air down to the bottom of your lungs. Keep pulling it in a little bit more. Okay, good. Let it go. Now, what you did there at the very end where I said, keep going, that is our second exercise, what I call fracturing the dam. And I'm going to linger here for a second because this is crucial to our understanding of how breath can actually be practical, that this isn't just a tool for the faint of heart, that this can really change your entire body and structure. We can imagine in a perfectly operating system of the body, you have rivers and streams in energetic flow from head to toe. Nothing is blocked. There is just a free flow of information, right? What happens is over time and due to stress, due to trauma, due to things that we ingest that is just not good for us in terms of like physical dietary blockages, all of a sudden there become dams all over the body so that energy can't run as easily. The best way to understand this is, for instance, when you get, if you have poor circulation in your hands. It's like, why does that happen? Because there's some sort of blockage in either your arm or spinal cord. And this is true of everyone all the time, especially in today's society. We are so tense. You can imagine that tension is shortening muscles, right? Tension is just a synonym for contracting of muscles, except it stays contracted. It's a chronic contraction of your muscles. And so when you are tense and you're contracted, what happens? Your volume is decreased, right? The length of your muscles is all shortening, and volume is length times width times height. So everything is getting crunched in on itself, and you are becoming literally more dense. Okay, you are building dams inside of your body so that energy can't flow through it as easily because it is constricted. It's like a boa constrictor strangling you. That is happening on so many places of your body that you aren't even aware of, that you have been holding tension for years. And so what we can do with the breath, because remember, the breath and tension cannot coexist, is we are reverse engineering. We are breaking down the dams, the energetic blockages in our body, using what is inherent to you, using this free and invisible resource at your disposal at all times. So this is how it will work. After reaching the top of an inhale, aka when you think you cannot inhale anymore, you can even test this now in your belly. You inhale all the way and then you hit the barrier, you hit the wall. This is called the dam. You take one more sip of air and another, and then let it go. Looks like this didn't show up all the way. And then you let it go. So it says expect emotional release at the bottom. It doesn't look like it's appearing fully. So let's all try it. Shake it off, zone in, close your eyes, and take a belly breath. And once you reach the top, I don't want you to focus on your lungs. This is not a story about your lungs. I want you to take another sip by relaxing the pelvic floor. So imagine breathing with your actual anus. I know how that sounds. It's like open. It opened, open. And then you exhale out of the mouth. What we are doing, and open your eyes real quick. Pay attention to this a little bit because this can really help you understand the entire purpose. We are essentially chipping away at this dam. You shouldn't expect right away to have this emotional release. You can imagine this as a sculptor who is sculpting, right? He is taking this little chisel and hammer and he's chip, chip. And the people that are around him are like, this guy is insane. He's not doing anything. He is just hitting randomly on some object. He's not going anywhere. He does that 1,000 times. And on the 1,001st time, all of a sudden, the statue cleaves in the perfect way, exactly how he wanted. That's the release. That is what you are doing right here with fracturing the dam. You are, in essence, pounding away, being very, very, very patient with yourself. Okay, Tim asks, does nose versus mouth breathing matter at this stage? At this stage, no. I'm going to suggest, we talk about this in level 2, the difference between nose and mouth breathing, and it's a huge difference. But you are welcome to, I highly, highly suggest keeping nose breathing as your main prerogative at all times. But at this point, it does not matter. Breathing is breathing. What I'm teaching is kind of in order for you to understand the mechanics first, and then start getting into the minutia, into the subtleties. Okay, I'm hoping this makes sense. Everyone will keep practicing this as we go along, but this is how you get rid of all that tension. Think about, let's say you have a thought about work and it creates some sort of reaction, like a little neurotransmitters go through the body. It causes a reaction because you're reacting just to an imaginary thought, and that tension now exists in you. And now we know if I can learn how to breathe into it, it has to disappear. Now, the crucial part is when this tension disappears, it means something has to trigger mentally too. The body and the mind are not separate. It is one contraption. It is one thing. So if you are to breathe deeply, let's say using your belly, and you recognize, oh my God, there is tension in my pelvic floor. I can't let my pelvic floor go. It is because there is a story you are telling yourself. There is a mental component to it. And so if you are able to break open using the TNT of your breath, all of a sudden, you have to deal with that mental issue. And this is where I can't really help you all that much, or rather, this presentation isn't quite the suitable thing. This is where we talk about therapy. This is where we talk about spiritual awakenings of like, why am I telling myself this story over and over and over again? That is a deeper layer. And know for certain that if you get emotional during breathing, that means you are doing it right. You are doing a good job because you are releasing all of the built up gunk and bullshit you've accumulated over decades of being a human in the 21st century. Okay, everyone good? Let's take a deep breath. Shake it off. In through the nose, out through the mouth, and just see how wide you can get your body. How much room can you take up? This is not about your lungs. This is about your body. Good. Let it go. Beautiful, friends. Now we are going to learn our third exercise. This is called Breath of Fire. This is a typical yoga technique to energize. I consider this kind of like an espresso shot. So anytime I need to energize and get pumped up for something right before I get on. So in terms of this presentation, I did not have to I was a little bit anxious. I was too awake. So I was learning more of the breathe slower techniques. But if you are feeling down and you need that extra little jolt, you have just one more to-do list to crank out, and then you get to take a nap. This is when you get to bring in Breath of Fire instead of your energy drinks. Those things are corrosive to your system. Please stop. Just breathe instead. Okay, it's a pumping action of your belly. It's a flexing and relaxing of the abs. So you see pump, contract, 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 contract. And it sounds and feels like a sneeze. And kind of, it's like someone's gut punching you. The key, y'all, is to focus on your exhales, not your inhales. Your inhales should come totally naturally. So everyone just try this out with me. Exhale, 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 exhale. Speeding up. Speeding up. Speeding up. You can see how you get lost really quickly, and how at the very beginning, when you're starting this technique, the entire body kind of seizes up. You can't seem to isolate it to just the stomach or just the abs itself. This comes with time and with practice, and you can get so much better at that. There are so many resources out there on YouTube that help teach this technique, and I just use it to fire up. So I'll just kind of show you what I do essentially, and let's see if you can kind of see my belly. So you're not going to see this pump very much because what I can do now is I can isolate it almost to my pelvic floor. And so it's a very subtle contraction. And it's almost like I'm scooping up energy through my spine. And it's like this Nerf gun action where I'm kind of pump, 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 getting pressure built up, built up, built up. And that's the energy. So I'll show you here. You see how it's just barely moving. But from my perspective, from the internal perspective, it very much feels as though energy is being rocketed up my body. Okay. We're just going to keep going because we got a lot of material to cover, and we will practice if we have time at the end. All right, muscle set numero dos. We have the diaphragm as muscle set number one. We say number one because it brings in the most amount of volume, ideally, because you're starting from the bottom of the lungs. Muscle set number two, we're talking about the intercostals. Inter meaning in between, costals meaning ribs, the muscles in between your ribs. Okay, and this is the action of them. You have two sets. The first is your external intercostal muscles. Your second is your internal intercostal muscles. The external intercostal muscles is what lifts your rib cage up. So everyone place your hand on your sternum for me and take a deep breath trying to use your rib cage. So as deep as you possibly can, and you should feel a very slight or not so slight movement of your sternum, your chest plate up towards your chin. So it's this raising aspect. Your entire body lifts up like you're attached to a balloon. Good, let that go. Now place both hands on the sides of your ribs and imagine someone playing tug of war with them. So they can you notice that it very slightly flares out into the left. It's pretty subtle. So that is the action of your intercostal muscles. It moves the entire torso forward and up, kind of like this kind of upward sweeping motion, rainbow arc, and it moves your rib cage left and right to the sides. Now I'm going to show this in a little bit more detail so it makes slightly more sense. Your external intercostal muscles are what causes the conscious inhale. Okay, so we already did that. This is when you, when you're not on autopilot, right? You can now see you're just engaging your external intercostal muscles. And they're called external ones. You can see this image here because it's literally on the outside. You have two different layers, one on the outside that's going up and down, one that's on the inside, it's going left and right. And when the external intercostal muscles fire, when they contract, they shorten. And for some ungodly reason, it's so difficult to visualize how muscles shortening can somehow increase the overall volume of your body. But it is true. This is how it works. So they engage, your entire thing lifts. But when your internal intercostal muscles engage, they cause a conscious exhale. Most exhales are not conscious, as in they are not forced. So everyone take a deep breath in. You're using your external intercostal muscles, and then just let go. And it's like a balloon that kind of pitters out. But if you want a faster exhale, you inhale and you exhale and you squeeze everything in. Do you guys see that? This happens when you sneeze, internal intercostal muscles engage. It happens when you run, and it happens with a breath technique I'll teach in a second. And beyond those three, you typically just have a resting elasticity to your rib cage that it always returns back to. So what we're going to try is we're going to try 3 breaths. Actually, I'll show this. Okay, so a good analogy here of your rib cage is that of an accordion, right? There's nothing on the inside of the accordion that is pushing outwards and causing it to get bigger. Rather, there is something on the outside creating a force, increases the volume, pressure differentials, and it happens to drag air in through and make a musical note. The same is true of you. Your rib cage can be viewed as an accordion that through musculature, through your external intercostal muscles, increases in volume, and then just so happens as a byproduct to drag air in through the nose. Okay, so this brings us to our next exercise, what I call accordion breathing. This is also called Bhastrika Pranayama in yoga, and it's also a fairly common technique. So this is going to be a breath using your intercostal muscles out and then in. So it's a conscious exhale and a conscious inhale. It is, Bastrika also means bellows. Bellows is in what you stoke a fire with. And the fire is how you feel. The fire is your energy. So if breath of fire was your kind of espresso shot, like kind of a quick boost up, accordion breathing is just like guzzling cups and cups of coffee. So let's all try it real quick. Check me out here. I'll just show you. It's like a in, two, out, two, in, two, out, two. And you can see I'm exaggerating the whole motion because this is how you breathe deeper. Eventually it can get more subtle, but I want you to exaggerate right now. I want you to be as obnoxious as possible. In, out. And see, I'm in through the nose, out through the mouth. This is just a general practice to get in. 3 more. In, out, in, out. Good. Inhale. I want you to hold it at the top and just feel kind of the rush that you get. This is like the dizziness. And it's not the purpose of this presentation to explain why you get dizzy here, but you can see just immediately like, whoa, 10 breaths correctly, like not just a kind of a weak breath, but 10 strong, deep breaths can change how you feel instantaneously. And that is all you. You are not adding a single thing to your system other than air. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Okay, we're just going to keep it rolling. I'm going to have breath exercises at the end of these 2 levels for you that'll kind of help round this a little bit more. But just in terms of us getting through all the material, it's important that we keep it moving. Is everyone good, by the way? I mean, feel free to pop your question in the chat at all. If in fact, let's just take 30 seconds, kind of shake ourselves off and see if we can reroute our minds, because I've just given you a lot of information. And I need you to continue going and being here with me. So just close your eyes and just start embodying what you've learned, right? So when you inhale, first it's the diaphragm, it's with the pelvic floor. And then you feel the chin kind of rise up, the rib cage goes side to side. And remember, your rib cage is in 360 degrees, so you can breathe in all directions. And just catch on to your mind. So as you're breathing in and out, don't think about anything. Just focus on the breath. What you can do is you can even play around with the fracturing the dam or the double inhale method, where you focus on your rib cage and you expand out as far as you can. And once you reach the top, you take another sip and then let it go. Good. Take 3 more breaths and just neutralize the chattery mind. You can kind of feel and hear the quietness in your mind. And again, this should make some bit of sense. It'll make more sense when you get into levels 3 and 4 of this workshop. But the basic idea is you are releasing tension from your body. And when tension releases, the mind is what creates the tension in your body. The mind is what creates the tension. And the tension then reverts back into the mind. It is a self-perpetuating hell loop that we all get caught in that can literally be interrupted and short-circuited with a deep breath. It is that simple. It is that elegant. All right. So we have the lungs, which go all the way back up, that right. They are not just down to your diaphragm. They don't just run into your rib cage. They run all the way up to your collarbone line. And so when we're thinking about changing the shape of our torso to actually affect the lungs, kind of glue and pull on them, we should be thinking about what are called the accessory muscles as well. These include your chest, your shoulders, your neck, and your back. Because again, this suction cup-like effect. And actually, I will show you, this is our next exercise, what I call syringe breathing. You guys have probably at least seen a syringe being used before, or a needle drawing blood, where you place it in a container, a vial full of water, say, You take the handle, you create the pressure differential, and the laws of physics does the rest. It drags the liquid or air into the actual syringe. The same is true of you, except we can imagine the syringe handle as being the tops of your shoulders. So now you're drawing air up towards the top of your head. Does that make sense? Let's try this out. So close your eyes and you will breathe from bottom to top. So you'll start with your diaphragm, then you'll go ribs, and then it'll be a slight shrugging of the shoulders up. If you need inspiration, you can kind of check me out here. Good. Okay, before we're going to try a couple more, but quick pointer, what we can often do, and this is not recommended, is we can hike it so far up that we become tense again. And all of this, as another reminder, should not create tension, because tension affects the breath. It allows breath not to move. It hinders the breath. Okay, so when you inhale upwards, when you pull on that syringe handle, it should be an effortless rise. There should not be any sort of constriction in your body on the way. Okay, let's try a couple more. Bottom to top. Whenever you're ready, I'll be quiet, let you do your own thing. Good. One more. Try to get it all the way up into your throat and into your jaw. Okay. And in order to do that means you have to release the tension in your throat and jaw. Feel it in your back muscles as well, like wings appearing in your spine. All right. Open your eyes. Let's keep it going. I assume all this makes sense intuitively to you guys. In fact, I'm hoping that this is so intuitive that you feel like you wasted your money because you already knew this. And that's how I'm kind of trying to stack these practices, where it's like da 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 da, and we'll keep it flowing to where things will start to make more and more sense as we go along. And this is where all of this musculature was leading. We're talking about, right, your body. Well, okay, I'll show it here. If we think about the diaphragm being able to breathe downwards, the rib cage breathes left, right, and forwards, and your accessory muscles breathe up and backwards, you can see that it kind of creates this cube, right? This or rectangular prism, which is the torso. But the reason why I'm not using a rectangular prism as the analogy here is because a sphere works far, far better, because a sphere can be breathed into in all directions. So try for a moment. Don't breathe from bottom to the top. Try to breathe in those 6 directions at once. So look at this image here and try to replicate it in your body. So you're being stretched from all angles simultaneously. Up, down, left, right, forwards, backwards. And then once you reach the top, take another sip of air, not by focusing on your lungs, but by focusing on relaxing outwards, like just expanding the bubble, expanding the sphere. And then you let it go. Now try this one. Because a sphere can breathe into all 360 degrees, right? It has infinite sides to it. So now you can kind of breathe catacorner. So imagine breathing up into the right, down into the left, almost like you're being breathed oblong. Try to match this image you're seeing on screen. Good. You can kind of see here, I'm kind of like stretching myself out to one side. This one, it gets a little bit subtler. This is what happens if you go to like a meditation retreat, say, or you get really deep into your practice, is you'll notice that your breath, which is AKA just a synonym for like your energy, your life force, starts doing these really funky backflips and somersaults and rolling around. And this is when it becomes very, very pleasant to watch the breath. So when you don't try to manipulate your breath, in fact, you can try this out. Just close your eyes and bring your attention to your nostrils and just watch it go in and out. So you're not manipulating anything, you're just viewing. Over time, were you to watch that long enough, let's say you were to watch it for an hour or so, you would notice that it does very, very interesting things, and the entire thing becomes a very psychedelic experience to watch your breath. Now, the sphere is beautiful too, because you can actually just choose one part of your sphere to breathe into, say like the north-northwest quadrant of you, or the south-southeast quadrant. And this brings us to our next exercise, what I call target practice. And you can see we're getting to the crescendo of this presentation where everything should be really crystallizing and making perfect sense. The basic premise of this exercise is that you can breathe beyond your lungs. Okay, so this is about changing the musculature of your body. So when I said breathe into your belly, you were targeting your belly. When I say breathe into your chest, you are targeting your chest. And what we can start to learn how to do is target places like your hands, places like your face, places like your feet, even these subtler aspects, which we're not going to get into until like level 6 of like memories. You can breathe into these very, very subtle realities. And the practice comes from actually targeting. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to practice by taking a breath into your belly. You're just going to aim it downwards. And actually, maybe you close your eyes. I'll see if I can walk you through this without visuals. So inhale into your belly. And you can feel how the air is moving downwards, all the way down. Good, let it go. And now just try to breathe into the right oblique of your belly. So I'll show this and I'll mirror you here. So you breathe down into the right. Actually place your hands on both sides of your belly. And you should feel just more energy move to the right than to the left. Even if it kind of means you like arcing over to one side, that's good. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Good. Okay, move your hands up into your rib cage and now try to breathe into your left rib cage more than your right rib cage. So again, you should kind of be angling over. And just keep going. You could take in more. It's a challenging practice, but you can get better and better and better at this aiming process. Good. Okay, let it go. Now hands up to the collarbones and see if you can breathe into your right shoulder. Up, 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 just the right shoulder. You can see here, like this is, it's literally lifting because this is about volume. This is about shape change. This is not subtle. This is not imagining your lungs taking air up. This is literally moving your body. You have to move your body in order to breathe. Hear that again. You have to move your body in order to breathe. Good, release. Okay. Now we're going to try to breathe into your hands. Okay, so you'll inhale from bottom to top. You'll kind of feel it spill across your shoulders. So you'll breathe into the collarbones like we just did. And now you can kind of see here, I'm floating my arms. I'm floating my arms up. I'm imagining them getting bigger in volume, bigger in volume. And even my hands are starting to spread out. Okay, let it go. It can be difficult at first to actually think that you did anything. Like it can feel like you're just making something up. But over time, and as you sharpen your attention, as you practice, guys, you will be able to tell and you will be able to breathe into your entire body. And this becomes our next exercise, which I call sponge breathing. You take a sponge, you put it in a cup of water, and it kind of unfolds and it sucks what's in it. It sucks the water into the actual structure of the sponge. The same is true of you, except you can imagine your entire field as the sponge. So all of us have this electromagnetic field that exists around us, and you can actually imagine it getting bigger. And when it gets bigger, it creates this chain domino effect into the breathing. So you can check me out here. I want to imagine my entire body as a sponge. And as I inhale, it's not just my torso increasing in volume. It is my feet, it is my legs, it is my arms, it is my jaw, it is my head. Everything in me is increasing in volume. Everything, even if it's subtle, even if you can barely tell on the surface, everything is moving outwards at once. It can feel like warmth. It can feel like radiance or vibration or humming or aliveness. Try that a few more times. Just focus on yourself. You got this. And just imagine. It doesn't have to be serious. Just imagine your entire body breathing outwards and inwards. It's almost like you're trying to fill up the entire space. You're trying to allow your body to reach the outer corners of the entire room. And that includes your palms, includes the bottoms of your feet. Okay, let that go. In the interest of time, we're going to keep it moving, but that is an exceptionally powerful tool. The next one is what I call scrubbing, and we're going to just briefly go over it. It's after a sponge breath or after targeting an area. You're going to hold the breath at the top, and you're going to imagine light just kind of scrubbing your body. So essentially, you're getting clean from the inside out. So you would sponge breath exactly like you have been doing. It inhales out into your environment, and then you hold the breath at the top, and you just imagine like someone taking a little toothbrush and getting in the little grout corners of your body. Just scrub, 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 scrub. Okay, keep it rolling. Actually, I will tell a brief story about how I used all these things and how I discovered it. I talked about at the beginning my collarbone injury as a child and how it healed more tense, right? And that tension curled my entire body down. So you will now understand that tension meant that I couldn't breathe into it, right? So before I really started understanding these phenomena, I basically was only breathing with my left half. Like the breath would kind of move up and to the left and then flow up to the right, if at all. Like this area just didn't receive any sort of prana or breath energy. And so what I very much used over time is this target practice. I got better and better at aiming my breath up into the right. I would hold the breath at the top. I would imagine it kind of radiating into my environment. I would imagine this white light, bright white, scrubbing the inside. And you know what happened? I had in-depth technicolor memories of the day that I broke my collarbone. So like, it was not just the body was holding a memory there. It was literally a mental component that was keeping it tense. It was my body saying, I don't want you to break your collarbone ever again. So I'm going to shield you off from everything. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to save you, which is amazing, except when it no longer serves because I'm not in an inflatable kayak anymore. I'm not at the beach. There's no need for me to hold on to that tension. The same is true in your body. You have so much that you're holding on to that is not serving you. And if you can learn how to breathe into those areas, if you can learn how to target them, voila, they have to release. They have to release. They have to release. And when they release, that's when the mental component comes in. And that's when you get to deal with them. You get to look at your memory straight in the eye, or your belief or your personality or whatever it is. And you get to say, do I want this anymore? Does this serve my purpose here? And if it doesn't, you just say, no, thank you. And you let it go. It is that simple. It is that simple, but it's not easy because it's very hard to let go of our past. Keeping it rolling. Okay, so here is the point. Posture. Posture is the key to all of this. You will have noticed, well, okay, simple geometry, right? Volume equals length times width times height. When we breathe in, we're typically pretty good at width and length aspect of shape changing our torso. It's the height, it's the up-down ratio that we very, very often miss. Imagine this as an inflatable tube man you see outside of a car dealership. Maximum air means maximum height and vice versa. Meaning when this inflatable tube man is at half mass, right, it doesn't have nearly as much air as when it's billowing fully all the way up. So it's this z-axis that is crucial. That is crucial. It's going to have the positive, exponentially positive benefit effects that we've been looking for. And it's why I've also taught you to breathe from bottom to top. So curl down on yourself for me. Get into this half mass inflatable tube man. And then as you inhale, notice that you have to unroll if you want to keep breathing in. Otherwise, you hit a dam. Otherwise, you're just hitting a blockage. So you inhale from bottom to top, you unfold, and you can just keep inhaling from the top. You can imagine a string pulling the top of your head way high up and keeping you grounded in your pelvic floor. So you're top to bottom. See how high, it's almost like your vertebrae are kind of like, they're getting space in between them. Good. Yes. Now, if you can hold this, all of a sudden you will breathe so much deeper. And we talk about that more tomorrow in level 2 of like why this all is important and how we can get this to be more functional and how like in our bodies. But for now, just keep this in mind. This is crucial. Except for one thing, it's very, very difficult for us to hold posture for long amounts of time. So I guarantee you were upright, you were imagining this string, and now you've started to sink a little bit and you're kind of rolling back down. But, and this is typical, right? You can see here on the left is an image of a spine drawn in a medical textbook in 1911. And on the right is one drawn in a medical textbook in 1990. Now, what this tells us is that over time, and you can see here on the left is far straighter of a spine than the one on the right, which is very curved. Over time, what we are doing is we are crowding down on ourselves, so much so that the scientific community now thinks that that's average. It's honest, like if you walk around and go to a restaurant or just walk on the streets, you will see everyone curved down. And if someone has good posture, you will spot them immediately because they are all of a sudden the outlier. And as the entire society progresses towards more of this average, our medical community and our doctors are now saying, well, like there's nothing wrong with it because everyone's doing it, right? Which is not what we should be thinking. We should be thinking, oh, we actually live in a sick society and a stressful society, and stress causes the body to cave down on itself, right? Stress means contraction, and the body is designed to fold into this fetal position. I mean, you can see literally from this left picture to the right picture, we are turning more into fetal. We are turning into this fear response. And so for you to unload the spine and actually go upright fully, means you have to deal with your fear. It means you are opening yourself back up to the world, and that is a vulnerable position. This is where you can get hurt. But that's fucking life. Like that's life. Be vulnerable. Allow your heart to open, because if you keep closing, there is nowhere to go but to keep closing off forever and ever and ever. All right. If we're struggling so much these days with actually keeping ourselves erect for long amounts of time, it's because we're focusing too much on the tops of the shoulders. We keep rolling it back and we're squeezing, right? We're creating tension in our bodies, and tension is not what we want. We want the spine to be effortlessly upright so that you can breathe deeply. Because if you are keeping yourself upright using contraction, using your muscles, you are squeezing yourself off and you can't breathe in, and that defeats the entire purpose. So good posture starts in your hips. Good posture starts in your hips, which should make decent amount of sense. Simple physics. It's the force of normal, the normal force. Wherever you make contact with the earth, that's where your stability originates, right? So if you're standing, your posture is going to start in your feet. And if you're sitting, your posture is going to start in your pelvic bowl, where it makes contact with the earth. Now, this entire thing, it's called anteverting the spine. The anteverting is a simultaneous tilt. So I'll show you here. I'm tilting and pushing simultaneously. So I'll show this in a few different images so you get the purpose. On the left here, this is a modern American as he sits at his desk for work, right? And you can see, of course, he's got this huge curvature of his spine. And imagine what that does. He can't breathe very much because his volume is contracted. There's not as much energy flowing through him. It's a fear response. I mean, this is not where you want to be while working, while doing anything in life. You want to be like this young lady here who is upright. Now, if we were just looking at the shoulders in the back, all of a sudden we'd say, oh, well, they must be like kind of bringing themselves back. Aha, but if you focus on the hips, that's where stability originates. And you can see this anteverting, right? This is called retroverting, retroverted pelvis, and this is called an anteverted pelvis. Now I'll show a bunch of different pictures to hammer home the point, because this is it. If you can learn how to tilt your pelvis correctly, your spine naturally stacks. The spine naturally stacks. So you can see on the left a bunch of images of people who very much look uncomfortable in their body. They can't sit on the ground without pain for long amounts of time. And what you would think is originally is the shoulders, but if you trace it back, it's always the hips. It's always the hips. On the right, however, you have a bunch of yogis. You can see every single one of them, their hips are tilted. They are anteverted. Okay, so that becomes a problem in that we store so much stress in our hips. Many of us, when I ask questions to some of my clients, like where do you think you hold tension the most? Almost everyone points to their neck, their shoulders, or their jaw, and I think that's because that's where most of the pain comes from. but all of it originates in your pelvis. So a loose pelvis, a pelvis able to tilt on all axes, that is what you really want. That's the ideal, because all of a sudden then you can really tilt it and get yourself way upright. Like, I guarantee what you're trying to do right now, many of you are trying to create that upright structure. You can't actually tilt the pelvis fully because there is tension there. And so what we can do is we can learn how to breathe into the pelvis using this diaphragmatic breaths, release some of it, because again, you have to release in order to breathe into it. And from there, then the pelvis can tilt. So this is an exercise I call spinal jacks, okay? Like a car jack where you it keeps getting up and up and up and up. There are 4 steps to this, really. What I call glass on the ass. This is another name for anti-verting. So you tilt the pelvis, glass on the ass, like you could kind of stack a glass of water back there. And that's an inhale. That's an inhale into your pelvic floor, into your hip flexors. So a belly breath, a plunger breath. Then you're going to grow like grass, because if you just tilt your pelvis, your discs will get compressed. So you have to both tilt and push upwards. And that's both on the inhale. So tilt, push, inhale. And then you keep inhaling. I mean, when I say grow like grass, remember that string all the way up to the heavens. You keep going up until you cannot inhale anymore. You keep sipping, you become more upright. You're all tense, and you're so tense because you haven't learned how to use the body more subtly yet. And then as you exhale, you keep the spine where it is, but relax everything around it. So the shoulders fall back down. And then you repeat it over and over. Glass on the ass, grow like grass, relax the mass, tilt, push, relax, tilt, push, relax, over and over and over again. So try 5 of those on your own, like you're a car just kind of slowly getting higher and higher up. Inhale, tilt, inhale, push, exhale, relax. Again, you'll notice you're like, I'm tilting as much as I can. You can tilt more the more you push. So it has to be a simultaneous tilt and push. And if you feel your entire body activating and like it's a lot of effort, know that this comes easier over time. Like, it's the same thing of going to the gym or going for a run or any sort of skill, right? It takes time. It's a little uncomfortable at first, but over a series of weeks and months, if you can really stay steady and continue to work on your posture, tilt, 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 it's all in the hips, it's all in the hips, it's all in the hips, then you'll be upright more effortlessly all the time. Okay, everyone open their eyes. I mean, look where you are so much more upright. And again, what this is causing is it's going to cause a mental reaction. Every single part of your pesky little egoic, nasty mind is going to want to convince you, curl back down, go back into your safe place. It's so much warmer. It's so much more easy in a ball. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. You are an incredible being that deserves to take up room in the environment. You don't deserve to be in a corner of the room, shaking and huddling in a tiny cold position. Like, show yourself, spread yourself. You deserve to be here. Okay, it is 10:07. I'm going to quickly go over what's next and then questions. And if there are no questions, we'll just get to breathe much. So what's next? This is 6 levels, right? So you've completed level 1 of 6. Tomorrow morning is level 2, where we really put, and it's still a part of Breathe Deeper. So we really get to tie some loose ends together and put all of this into a nice package for you to understand. And it will really, really, really make sense how this can be an energetic boon to you. Now, some of you guys just signed up for the level 1, which is great, which is fine. If you can't make tomorrow's session, if you're interested in still coming to tomorrow's, know that it's recorded so you can watch it at any time. Same with this. I will also send out tomorrow a summary sheet with everything that we learned in Breathe Deeper. On Sunday or Monday, I will upload practice audios. So it'll be days 1 through 5, about 10 audios here that essentially go over everything that we learned in these first 2 lectures. Days 6 through 10 comes in handy with Breathe Slower. Days 11 through 15, Breathe Easier. Then you also have the opportunity to take some of my classes. So I've uploaded about 3 wake the fuck up classes, which you can now fully understand because you have breath of fire and bellows breathing under your belt. So feel free to go to my YouTube channel to check this out. Gravity yoga, this comes after levels 3 and 4, I want to say, of breathe slower. Anyways, I have plenty of opportunities, and there will be live classes as well that I continue to put on as I travel the country, as I continue to travel the world, where you're welcome to join me. All these have a specific purpose in mind to help you feel a certain way. And then you can join my email list if you're not on it already. I send out weekly thoughts about a certain word, and I think that's it, right? Yeah, sweet. Okay, questions. Questions. All right, beautiful.
Not necessarily a question, but I was going to share a comment from my experience on that last one.
Yeah.
My legs started getting a little tingly. Is that sometimes normal when you start to kind of like move the hips around in that way?
Yes, it means there's more energy. I mean, there's a difference between like the cutting off circulation and the tingly of more energy, but I used to get that in my hands. Like when I started really getting over all the tension in my right shoulder, it was like, oh my God, blood flow back in my fucking arms. Like, what is this? So it's very likely that your legs have been cut off from circulation because of tension that exists there. I mean, so thank you so much. The point of this entire presentation really is that perfect posture is a perfect breath, and a perfect breath is perfect posture. So if you can solve your breath, you can solve your entire structure, and vice versa. If you can fix your posture, you will have fixed your breath. So as you continue to get better and better and use these skills, you will notice your physical skeletal structure is shifting over time. You're welcome, Alan. Okay. All right. Let's do 5 minutes of exercise here. We're going to go from bottom to top, getting all of these techniques at once. So you'll start just, you're more upright now. So you're tilting the pelvis. Your chest is barreled forward, wide open to the sky. And now just take a belly breath. So plunger breathing. Remember, you're initiating from the pelvic floor. Good. Let that go. For myself, I mean, every time I take a belly breath, it's like I can kind of feel emotions stirring in me. And again, that's a good thing. Like we want that release. We're trying to get that demon exorcised out of us. Okay, try another belly breath. Only this time, I want you to fracture the dams. See if you can kind of open yourself up a little bit more by relaxing, right? This is intelligent. You're not forcing it. You're not jamming it down the throat of your spine. It's a natural opening, Sip, 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 sip. Good. Let that go. Now we're going to do the same thing, only let it start to spill up into the rib cage. So down as far as it can go, your organs are moving out of the way, and then you're playing tug of war with yourself. You're seeing how wide and forward you can get your rib cage. And you're noticing, right? You're getting better posture inherently because the two are inextricably linked. Good. Let all that go. This next breath, you're going to do plunger, accordion, and syringe breathing. So you're going to go from bottom to top. And when you think you reach the top, focus on your structure, focus on your actual posture, and notice that then you can take another sip of air. If you focus on how tall you get, imagine that inflatable tube man. It's like, oh yeah, I can sip more. I can sip more. I can sip more. And try to exhale and release the tension, but keep your spine. This next one, you're going to try breathe in all directions at once. So up, down, left, right, forwards, and backwards. So not bottom to top, but everything, including your fingers, including your toes, including the top of your head. Keep going outwards. It's like you're trying to get your field to touch the walls around you. That's how wide you're making yourself. This should not be causing any sort of discomfort in your lungs. If it's causing discomfort in your lungs, that means you're focusing too much on the breath and not enough on your torso and body structure. Good. And if we want, you can hold the breath at the top and just imagine light doing the dirty work. It's cleaning all the bullshit out of you. And so you're just this big ball of glowing warmth. All right, let that go. Last one for level 1 is us tilt, push, and then relax. So you'll focus once more on tilting the pelvis, and you'll simultaneously push while also relaxing the pelvic floor. You can kind of see how it's difficult because you need to engage some muscles in your hips while relaxing others. And you become more upright. It just spills up into your head. It's going all out at once. Everything is expanding into your environment. You are a big ball of glowing energy. You're getting taller and taller and taller. And you can feel the energy. It's like, is this anxiety? Is this anxiety? No, this is energy. This is natural energy. This is how you're supposed to feel every single moment. Just fucking explode outwards. Like, this is what life can be like. And then exhale, keep your spine. Everything else relaxes. All right. For myself, this is when I want to like pound my chest. I'm like, yes, I'm alive. I'm alive. Know that as you continue practicing this, once again, things will come up in your mental state. If that's the case and you start experiencing something, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help in any way that I can. And then otherwise, reach out with any questions that you may have. And I will see you tomorrow for level 2.
Hey, Ethan, I actually did have one question that came to mind.
Oh, hit me.
You were talking about the hip going, can't remember the term.
Anti-verting. Yeah.
Anti-verting. Mm-hmm. In the past, I've heard like to straighten your posture, you should actually like tuck the hips down. Is there any benefit to doing the reverse, or is it always kind of better to anti-vert?
So that is the next step in it. Is what they're talking about is like the it's like a little bit higher. So you need to, and that's why it's not just tilting the pelvis. It's a specific term called anti-verting, where you are simultaneously turning the pelvis and bringing your belly button in towards your spine, so it flattens out a little bit while raising. It's like those 3 motions, and those are called the bandhas in yoga. So Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha is like engagement of your pelvic floor, like you're tilting, you're drawing energy up while simultaneously dragging backwards. So yes, but definitely the lowest possible point, you have to tilt. You got to tilt for sure.
Cool. Yeah, don't want to take away from the methods and what we were learning today. Just came to mind. I was like, I remember like people have said to tuck it in the past, and I was like, is that wrong, or is again like a different structure of like what to focus on kind of thing?
Right. I'm really glad you brought that up, because that tucking is often wrong. I mean, people tuck and immediately like you tuck and you round. Like that is you can test it yourself. Like try to tilt and not go more upright, like it.
I noticed it so much more clearly in the method you proposed than what I've done in the past. I always felt like it did kind of close me off more.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you again, brother.
Thank you. All right. Everyone else good? Feel satiated? All right. Reach out with any questions, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hey, if you enjoyed that video, please consider joining one of my live yoga classes. They happen a few times a month. They're recorded for scheduling conflicts, and there are payment options for those of you who are struggling financially. You can find the details by subscribing to my email list, Patreon, or public calendar. All 3 are linked below. Also, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I have so much exciting and useful content in the works. All right, thanks for your serious focus. Have a wonderful rest of your day.